how about JJ's burial site? That Alex was only out there, what was it, 17 minutes? Is that what the FBI guy said? That Alex was out there 17 minutes on that day. So certainly not enough time to dig a meticulous grave and bury a child, find a board from the garage, find rocks that lined up perfectly. Certainly not enough time for Alex to do that on his own. So I'm guessing he had help from Chad.
So that was the voice of Jim Archibald, his closing argument in the trial of Lori Vallow Daybell, also known as the Cult Mom murder trial. Cult Mom, of course, convicted of her role in the murders of her two kids, JJ Vallow and Tylee Ryan, as well as her husband's first wife, Tammy Daybell. Well, now her hubby, Mr. Doomsday, Chad Daybell, is facing charges connected to those same murders. Court TV anchor Ted Rowlands has the story for us tonight.
Chad Daybell grew up in the LDS Church in Springfield, Utah. And according to Chad, in his teens, he became sort of a prophet.
The way he described it was that his veil was more open than it had been.
Daybell met his first wife, Tammy Douglas, while in college. He was a part-time grave digger. During their marriage, they would have 5 children. The couple also founded a book company through which Chad published many religious books.
I've recently released my autobiography entitled Living on the Edge of Heaven, where I tell more about my 2 near-death experiences.
Chad Daybell claimed he had visions of the future and heard a voice that guided him. He told followers he knew the end of the world was coming and that evil zombies were taking over some people's bodies.
Chad's been a very prolific author, so in the past, I would say a lot of his publications are very much in the mainstream, but it does seem that their trajectory seems to be taking them away from the kind of center where most people in the faith would have.
Chad would meet Lori Vallow in 2018. They had an affair, and she became a dedicated follower of his cult-like group. The next year, Chad's wife, Tammy, died in her sleep.
I begged her to go to the doctor because her heart was failing her. She was physically falling apart.
Chad is now charged with Tammy's murder. 2 weeks after her death, on November 5th, 2019, he and Lori were married. Within 7 months, Chad and Lori Daybell would both be jailed for the murders of her children and his wife. The remains of Lori's daughter, Tylee, and son, JJ, were found in Chad's backyard.
On behalf of Mr. Daybell, we will enter a plea of not guilty to all of the charges.
Now, as we're looking ahead to what's on the docket, there's a big motions hearing scheduled for November 29th. One of the biggest issues to see if cameras will be allowed in the courtroom for Mr. Doomsday's trial, and his attorneys are looking to strike the death penalty. They want the death penalty off the table for him. They filed in a motion that Lori was the more culpable party. That's according to the state. That was the state's argument at trial. They said Lori was more culpable, and so they're arguing to strike it as arbitrary, capricious, and disproportionate. And remember, the death penalty was off the table in Lori's case because the prosecutors messed up. They dropped the ball big time, and the judge sanctioned them essentially for not turning over everything in a timely manner that the defense was deserving of in discovery. So that was a big win for the defense in Cult Mom's case. So in all fairness, should it be taken off the table in Mr. Doomsday's case? Let me bring back in Eklund Mercy, Kirk Nurmi, and Nima Rahmani. Kirk Nurmi, have to go to you. Death penalty certified lawyer, did one of the most famous cases of our time. You saved Jodi Arias's life in that case. Talk to me about this. Do you think that the state of Idaho is going to keep proceeding with the death penalty against Chad Daybell? And should this motion filed by his defense to get rid of it be granted by the court?
Well, Julie, I don't think that the court's going to grant the motion. I think it's one of the things they do. They make the record. There is some case law out there suggesting that it is unequal justice, if you will, for one co-defendant to receive the death penalty and another not. But this is based on maybe a different situation, a discovery issue, a disclosure issue. So that might not hold up on appeal, but I can see why his lawyers are, in fact, pursuing that challenge, because basically they have to. I mean, a death penalty lawyer has to look at the state of the law now and anticipate what might be 10, 15 years down the road when a death sentence is possibly being executed, if you will. So ultimately, they're doing what they have to do. I don't expect it's going to fly anywhere in court, and I still think they will pursue the death penalty.
Kirk, I appreciate your insight on that. Nima Rahmani, help me out. I want you to put on your prosecutor hat. Think like a prosecutor. Let's think like these prosecutors. I know you wouldn't have dropped the ball if it was your case, Nima, but we know they did big time. That was disgraceful. How they have probably the biggest case of their lifetimes. They announced their notice of intent to seek the death penalty, and they don't turn over the evidence to the defense. They were warned. They still wouldn't do it, and so the judge said, guess what? I'm taking this decision out of your hands. No death penalty. Knowing that, I wonder, thinking like they would think, can they in good conscience still proceed with it against him when they know it was their error in not being able to proceed with it with her? What do you think, please, Nima?
Well, Julie, I agree with you. I mean, as a prosecutor, you really have one job, is to pursue justice, but really produce the discovery, discovery that's required by statute, any impeachment material, any exculpatory material, just turn it over. So when prosecutors don't do this and they hide the ball, it's probably one of the worst things they can do aside from prosecuting an innocent person. But I don't agree with the defense that somehow it's unfair to seek the death penalty for Chad Daybell. Let's be honest. Lori Vallow was temporarily incompetent. She was in a haze throughout the entire trial. Even when she spoke up at sentencing, she gave this really kind of rambling, nonsensical type statement. So I'm not even sure that she's competent right now. Everyone knows that Chad Daybell is pulling the strings. He's the manipulative one. He's the head of the cult. And that's why he wants cameras in the courtroom, Julie. Most of the time, it's the defense that doesn't want it. He wants the entire world to know his story. And what's really strange about this case, which is already a very strange case, is the prosecution is objecting to cameras here. So it's not just because I'm on court TV a lot. I believe that cameras should be in the courtroom in every case.
Yes. So, preach, Nima Rahmani, preach. Yes.
So why, if you're the state of Idaho, why are you trying to deny the public access to this trial? Does not make any sense. If the defense is arguing and they're saying it's going to prejudice their client or taint the jury pool or intimidate witnesses or one thing, maybe I understand that. I do not understand why prosecutors are trying to keep cameras out of this case. It does not make any sense.
I am with you. I am with you 110%. This is the perfect segue to Eklund. Eklund, I wanted to ask you about this point. The cameras. So here we have this defendant, Mr. Doomsday, who wants the cameras on him, as Nima said. His attorney, John Pryor, has been very vocal from the outset, saying, we're good with cameras. We want them. We want the transparency. But it's the prosecution that's the problem. And in Lori's trial, her attorneys and the prosecution agreed. They were all in agreement. So, of course, easy decision for the judge, right? Oh, okay, both parties agree. My job's easy. Here, what should this judge do when it's a defendant, who's got the right to the public trial?
Oh, they absolutely should make it public. I suspect that if made public, heads would roll. I think that just off of the conception of this case against Mr. Daybell, I think prosecutors have been dropping the ball and kicking it very, very, very far. One of the things that consistently strikes me is that how the first wife died under mysterious circumstances. He is miraculously married, full-blown married to another woman with children in 2 weeks. But yet and still, it's now that we have the, now that we have the indictment for murder for the first wife. I think that there are certain things there, and I think that the prosecution, if they were able to drop so many gems in the first trial, I think that they're trying to hide a forest fire in this one. So it will make for great television. However, I don't know how it's going to help the prosecution's case. I believe that it's going to be public, and I believe that the prosecution has some explaining to do, especially when statute of limitations is there are none for murders. So why are you bringing a crack case? So I want to know that.